We're approaching playoffs set in the NFL season, and the Turf and Touchdowns podcast is rolling into week 14. Myself, Luke Elder, alongside Tom Collins, where it's getting into cold season, Tom.
It is, yeah. We're going to start to have a lot of snow games, a lot of ice games, a lot of games where it's going to be difficult to catch the ball, including the Packers v Bears this week, where it's scheduled to be around -6 degrees Celsius. So that's going to be a nice one. We're also getting to a stage, Luke, where we need to pick up the form. Like last week, I was terrible. I apologise. Hands up, guys. But did you see some of the things that happened? I mean, my player of the day was Tyler Warren. I get a notification on Friday afternoon saying Tyler Warren is ill. I'm like, oh, this is carnage. And then he only played half the snaps because he was ill. So that's why the player of the day lost. And then, don't get me started on Justin Jefferson. He needs to get out of there, man.
He does. He does need to also catch the ball when it comes near him.
He does, but the throws are just no good.
The throws are no good, but at the same time, you got to help the kid out.
True.
There was one catch where a good receiver would catch it. An exceptional receiver would easily catch it 10 times out of 10, and he's straight on the floor. It's just like,
yeah.
I understand this is a bad situation, and I understand you're not happy with the situation, but you've got to do your bit.
Yeah, both him and Jordan Addison have been handcuffed. I mean, Jordan Addison obviously less so because he's not necessarily an elite receiver, but they've been handcuffed by the situation. JJ McCarthy and then Max coming in last week. I'm just going to call him Max because he's an undrafted rookie. Doesn't earn that last name status just yet. Yeah, look, Minnesota offense right now is struggling. They've not had a good year. They're going to finish bottom of the NFC North. But last week was really frustrating from a betting perspective.
I would argue that just calling him Max actually gives him more respect.
Yeah, I suppose. Like Kyler.
Because, like Kyler, Puka. It's like, these are good guys. I think we get a different name.
What's that?
I think he's called the Janitor.
The Janitor? Okay, I like it.
He's not a quarterback. I don't know what he is, but it's a janitor. We'll call him the Janitor. But that is a brief look back at last week, and that will continue in a second as well. But let's move on to What on Earth, because it's been a painful week and a half, Tom. But things are going to turn around. I have ultimate faith. You do What on Earth first. I'll be polite.
Yeah, to be fair, mine is actually a happy What on Earth, because I thought I'd get the terrible stuff out of the way earlier about last week's selections, then go in a little bit happier, make myself chipper ahead of this week's picks. Positive mentality, trying to get some winners this week. So it's a happy What on Earth. Ready? 3, 2, 1. What on earth? Puka Nacua and Brock Bowers. Those catches last week were elite. That's what I watched Red Zone for. Those big plays, the plays where you sit down on the sofa, look at your partner and go, that was unbelievable. If you haven't seen either of their catches, make sure you go check them out on social media. Brock Bowers one-handed down right on the floor for a touchdown. Puka Nacua, that was the hardest catch I've seen for a long time. He kind of grabs it with the back of his hand coming in and then corrals it against his body. 2 amazing catches. You've got to go watch them if you haven't seen them already. What on earth, Puka and Brock?
What does Lou say when you comment on how good a catch was on Red Zone?
She goes, huh.
Is that right? Did he do sports, did he?
Yeah. That's it. That's all I get. That's why I have to message you. That's why I'm all peppering you on WhatsApp all the
time. Disgrace, by the way. What on earth, Tom Collins not putting Treylon Burks in there?
It's because you mentioned him on Thursday Night Football podcast. I couldn't do it again.
That catch was so good, that will be mentioned in years to come. Ridiculous. Okay. Ridiculous. I've actually, coming into this podcast, we're a bit rushing around, and you can tell by the designer bags under my eyes that I was on the early at work today. So I forgot what my What on Earth was. But I've just remembered. So Tom doesn't actually know what my What on Earth was. So, what on earth, NFL head coaches? Why do rookies have to earn their place in the team? If you know a guy's a better running back or a better receiver, just play him. You're hurting your own team. I'm looking at you, Mike Vrabel. I'm looking at you, Sean Payton. Sean Payton, RJ Harvey was my player of the day last week. He comes out, first 3 carries, takes him for 16 yards. Oh, let's get him off the field. What we're going to do, we're going to put the ball in the hands of Bo Nix. No. Bo sucks, and we're going to get off the field after a field goal. RJ Harvey, you then get 2 touchdowns later on once we realise that you're the better back. Also, Mike Vrabel, put Travion Henderson on the field. I know Stevenson is back, but he's not as good. What on earth, NFL head coaches?
Hey, I agree with everything you just said, apart from Bo Nix sucks. The RJ Harvey and the Travion Henderson thing, they are crazy. Now, RJ Harvey, I half understand it because it did take him a while to learn the playbook. But last week, with J.K. Dobbins obviously not playing, he's got to take all the carries, and he looks so good early. So I completely agree. The Travion Henderson saga, like, what has he done to the New England Patriots coaches? Because there's no way Ramondre Stevenson deserves to be getting any carries, let alone still being the main guy. I agree with all of this. This whole rookie earning your carries and earning your production, rubbish. Get them on the field. They're the better players. They will help your team win.
Yeah, it's not like Travion Henderson just took the NFL by storm in the 2 weeks that Ramondre Stevenson was. Oh no, wait, he was literally one of the best running backs in the NFL. But no, we should give Ramondre more carries because that's a better way of doing things. And also with RJ Harvey, first drive, like I say, 3 carries, 16 yards, brilliant. All we need to go over is 47.5 rushing yards. This is easy, perfect. Jaleel McLaughlin played the second drive.
Yeah,
what? It's so dumb, honestly, so dumb. But that's the moaning done. We're going to move on. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment down below. Do memberships. Do all that stuff. It's really good. You'll really enjoy yourself. You'll have a few winners. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like I've worked myself up now, Tom.
You need to calm down. While you calm down, I'll talk about a guy who's not calm, a guy who's aggressive, the guy that pounds the floor with his feet. And no, it's not Isaiah Pacheco. This is my first.
I was going to say Isaiah Pacheco.
No. First play on Sunday, and it's going to be relating to Quinshon Judkins, a better Isaiah Pacheco. Plays for the Cleveland Browns. They take on the Tennessee Titans this week. It's going to be a dire game, a game that no one is going to watch unless it's on Red Zone, which will probably be like 3 or 4 times over the course of 3.5 hours, because this game features 2 offenses that are stuttering. They're led by rookie QBs. They don't have the best talent on either side. Yet the Cleveland Browns have a really good defense, and Tennessee, actually, they've not been terrible on defense this year. So I don't think we're going to see much of them on Red Zone. However, when we do, I think we're going to see a lot of Quinshon Judkins, and I'm going to take Judkins anytime touchdown at 10-11 in this game. Several reasons for it. Firstly, Shedeur Sanders continues to start for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson has come back, apparently, from injury. He may start in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I think they just ride with Shedeur throughout the rest of the season. They're not going to go anywhere. There's no playoff hope there. So just keep the rookie in and train him up. But anyway, in his 2 starts so far, Quinshon Judkins has 41 carries across those 2 games. That's basically 20.5 carries per game. He should get another 20 carries in this game against Tennessee. If they're up big early, possibility, then he'll get even more. The Titans rank the second worst, joint 30th, in the league for giving away rushing touchdowns. 17 through 13 weeks this season. The only team that's worse is, interestingly, the Buffalo Bills. But they're going to be giving away at least 1 more rushing TD this week. Quinshon Judkins, anytime touchdown, gets us off to a flyer in the Browns v Titans game.
Have you seen the list of how many quarterbacks the Cleveland Browns are paying this year?
I have, and it's way too many. And there are way too many of them that shouldn't even be on the roster.
Well, that's it. I think 4 or 5 of them aren't. Like, they're still paying Jameis Winston, albeit it's like 13 grand. They're still paying Kenny Pickett. He's in Vegas now. They're still paying Joe Flacco. He's in Cincinnati. Like, just the definition of how to terribly run a franchise.
The whole franchise is a state, mate. I mean, even the fact that they kept Deshaun Watson on the team is enough.
Well, the fact that they gave him a fully guaranteed contract after everything that was going on is absolutely wild. But sorry, Cleveland Browns, but you deserve it. I'm going to be quite frank. You fully deserve it. Let's move on to a team who are also really badly run. I'm going to be totally frank with that, because the Cincinnati Bengals just need a defense. You've got such a good offense and you focused 0% on defense. But maybe this week you might be able to do something to stop Josh Allen and the Bills. But even if you can't, I think Chase Brown has quite a big week. I think Jamar Chase will go well this week as well. He's like the last guy left effectively in the in the wide receiver room. But Chase Brown has been quietly good. He's a guy that in fantasy football at the start of the year, after I think 2 games, maybe 3 games, I had traded away and I'd got rid of him. And honestly, for a few games, looked like that was a great decision. And then Chase Brown has just reignited. He's been very good for the latter half of the season. Last 3 games, he's had 18 carries, 19 and 15. He's turned that into 99 yards, 107 and 78. Finding the end zone isn't his favorite pastime, but to be honest with Chase Brown, he's not a goal line back. He's a small guy. He gets you yards when you need them in the open field. And I think Chase Brown could do exactly the same this week. But you listen to those numbers I just read out, the 99, 107 and 78. You're thinking, oh, cool. Chase Brown's line must be 75. It must be quite high, right? No, it's not. 51 and a half. I think that's really low. You're not looking at a Buffalo Bills defense that was maybe around 3-4 years ago that is absolutely top tier elite and you can't possibly do anything on them. They leak, especially to the running back position. Woody Marks a few weeks ago, 16 carries for 74 yards. He averaged 4.6 per carry. You look last week, I know it was a game, the wind was high, you couldn't really throw the ball a great deal. But still on the ground, when the Steelers were down, the Steelers running backs were still used and they weren't too bad. Jaylen Warren, 10 carries for 35 yards, 3.5 per carry, did find the end zone as well. And Kenny Gainwell, 5 carries for 20. He averaged 4 yards per carry. You can move the ball on the ground against Buffalo. Cincinnati are absolutely going to do that. I think Chase Brown, over 51.5 yards, is a good bet, Tom. And hopefully we get fireworks in another cold environment.
Yeah, look, I don't hate it. As I say, the Bills have given up the most rushing touchdowns this year. So not that is your play here, but the fact they're allowing that many rushing TDs means there are gaps in that D-line. So therefore, the running backs should be able to make yardage in the middle part of the field, which is what you need in rushing yards here. I don't hate it at all. The only thing I didn't necessarily love was if Cincinnati went down big early, but the likelihood of that happening with Joe Burrow at QB is slim. The Buffalo Bills will probably win the game, I'll say, but Chase Brown has every chance of going over.
Yeah, even if they're down, you can pitch it out to Chase Brown, and he's that fast that he can be that kind of guy that still has production. I'm going to let you in a little secret here, Tom. Your next pick, I was very close to picking on the unders.
Oh, now let me tell you why I like this selection, because this was the one I was actually waiting for. I did my prep for this podcast last night on Wednesday evening. There were no lines in the Buccaneers and Saints game, which is the game of choice. And I thought to myself, that's really frustrating. I'll just put something else up instead. And then I looked just before we started filming and the price was there. So I'm going to go in with it. It's Emeka Egbuka, over 60.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11.
Wait, who was it?
Emeka, don't do this again.
Emeka Egbegbo.
Egbegbo. Emeka Egbuka, over 60.5 receiving yards against the Saints. This is my second and final 6 p.m. game selection. Now, there are 2 things I want to say about this. Firstly, the line is likely to drop, I think, which seems crazy for Egbuka, who had a phenomenal start to the year. But if you look at his production recently, it's just not been there. So when it comes to that, you might be right. You were tempted to play the under. I wouldn't be surprised if the line dropped. Therefore, the trader's thinking that the line was too high. However, I'm going to play over 60.5. And the reason for that is that the Buccaneers are starting to become healthy at wide receiver. Mike Evans, he could be back this week, but the likelihood is, even if he's not, he'll be back next week. Jalen McMillan's just been activated off IR. He'll be back within 21 days, hopefully. His neck has been a problem all season. He's not played a single game. Chris Godwin's obviously back. Tez Johnson's playing. They have other wide receivers that are playing. So Egbuka, who has carried or tried to, largely failed throughout this whole season at wide receiver, is now going to be facing serious challenges for his spot. He's not going to be getting the same snap share. He's not going to be getting the same production, and he's not going to get the ball thrown his way as much. However, this is the week where Egbuka needs to prove that he deserves that spot in the team. So I think there's going to be, 1, a lot of good plays from Egbuka himself. And 2, I think he's going to get tested by this coaching staff and Baker Mayfield to see if he really can be this wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 going into next year. Mike Evans is not going to last forever. He's barely last this year, as anticipated in our Anti-Post podcast. Chris Godwin's a slot receiver, so they need that guy out wide. And Egbuka's got to prove it now. And I think he can. So I want to take the over against the Saints, who aren't a great team right now. The Bucks should win this matchup. If he gets 6 to 8 catches, he will go over here, and that's what I'm banking on.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he dazzled early on, and for some reason, he's just entirely lost his way. He got hurt a bit, banged up one week, but it's just not been pretty from Ibuka in recent times. But yeah, I agree. He absolutely has to step up because at the moment, I mean, he could legitimately drop back to being wide receiver 3 on this team. Godwin looked okay last week. Mike Evans is going back in. And on the topic of Mike Evans, anti-post. Tom put up Mike Evans under 1,000 yards. Worked great. Look, guy got hurt. He probably wasn't going to do it anyway. This week, he was the hotness on the waiver wire. I put the claim in, champion. I've won the Turf and Touchdowns Listener League in the actual league part going into the playoffs. I thought, I'm going to put a claim in for Mike Evans. Waiver priority 10. Don't know if he'll get to me. We'll see. Who claims him? Tom Collins claims him.
Let me tell you why. I didn't want you to have him. That was the reason. I didn't think he would come to me, to be fair, because I was waiver priority 9, I think. But yeah, I managed to pick him up. He's just going to sit on my bench until maybe he can play. But look, you can't leave a guy like Mike Evans on the waivers or to go to a team that's not yours. He's going to have some sort of impact when he comes back into the Bucks lineup, whether it's this week or next. I don't really care. From a fantasy perspective, I'll cuff him for the playoffs. And from a betting perspective, give me Egbuka this week.
It's all right. I just traded for Amon-Ra St. Brown instead.
Loser.
Right. Speaking of losers, let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons because they have had such a rubbish season. They could be so good. And they traded away their future as well because they haven't got what would be, I think, the number 5 pick at the moment. They traded that to the Rams. So thanks, Atlanta. Really good stuff. Really appreciate you doing that. Good guys. But good news, you have still got Bijan Robinson. And Bijan Robinson is one of the best players in the entirety of the league. I'm not going to take him on the rushing side of things. We're going to focus on the receiving side of things for Bijan Robinson. Now, he plays the Seattle Seahawks, which are the greatest team in the entirety of the league. But the Seattle Seahawks, we're a shorter price to win the Super Bowl than you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I feel like we should be roughly the same price. Our defense is slightly better than yours. Oh, by the way, I know you're going into your bet here. Can we just mention that Tariq Woolen play last week where it was an interception and he lost the ball? He fumbled it.
What was that? Right. As a Seahawks fan, right, and this is going to sound like massive after timing. When Tariq caught the ball, I was like, go down. Just go down.
Yeah.
It's like, you are going to fumble this ball. Like, just go down. And then you see the guy, I can't remember who it was, that tackled
it was Jalen Naylor.
Jalen Naylor, yeah, big body guy, right? That Tariq Woolen's running towards, like, don't initiate contact. He just runs it, poof, ball goes up in the air. It's like, right, Reek, we knew that was going to happen. Like, why are you doing that?
What I will say is, though, Jalen Naylor should have been my what on earth, because that is great desire from him. Like, your team's just throwing an interception. It was the 3rd or 4th one of the day. There's no reason for Naylor even to put any effort in. I would have been disconsolate once I saw Max throw another pick. But no, he managed to make the tackle and he recovered it. So fair play to Naylor. But yeah, that play was weird from Woolen.
It was. The janitor as well, by the way, the janitor.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was. Maybe he had lots of anger because the janitor kept on throwing the balls to Seattle. Maybe it was that he wanted to get out. It was like, come here, Rick Woolen. But I think Bijan Robinson has a big week in the receiving game. Seattle, we haven't been fantastic all year against receiving backs. You look 2 weeks ago against the Titans. Weirdly, both backs for the Titans had pretty much the same stat line. It was 4 catches for 21 yards for the pair of them. That was Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. 8 catches for 42 yards effectively to far, far inferior backs than Bijan Robinson. And it was a similar case last week as well. A few catches were allowed, not for that many yards, in the sense that Aaron Jones had 4 catches for 22 yards. Xavier Scott had a catch for 4 yards. Jordan Mason came in and got a catch for 1 yard. Again, we're allowing the catches to happen. If you do that to Bijan Robinson, he's going to get you some yards on top of you. I'm not going to say he's going to cut a 70-yard touchdown off the back of a catch, but his line is relatively low. It's 34.5. I think he goes over that. He could easily go over that in one play. The concern that I've got, and from a football fandom point of view, is no concern at all, but Seattle getting healthy again. This amazing defense that we've seen in the last 4 or 5 weeks or so, that's been a lot of backups. I'm going to be honest with you. Julian Love is coming back. We've got Jaron Reed coming back. We've got a fair few other guys in the secondary that are fit enough to come back. I think Bijan Robinson does still have a big game in the receiving side of things. I think he probably gets more receiving yards than rushing. So, Tom, I'll take Bijan Robinson over 34.5.
Yeah, I like it. Picking the main guy on the offense. It's kind of the angle that I've been using quite often this year. It works out really nicely. And Bijan is just electric. So, yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Also, because you're watching early, because you're a really smart viewer, take this line now. Drake London, I don't think will play. So I think that line could go up into maybe the low 40s. So take the line as it is right now. And do you know the guy throwing to him, Tom?
Can we just, I'm going to pause you again here. Like, how is this guy starting in the league still? He's been great. I'm not taking anything away from his career, but my word, there are a couple of veteran QBs right now that need to hang up those cleats. Geno Smith being one and this guy being another.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. The reason that he's playing is because Atlanta paid him a lot of money to come down and play. And then they drafted Michael Penix the same year, which was weird. But Kirk Cousins, he is 37 years old. Loved watching Kirk Cousins in his years. Seems like a really nice guy, but it's not going well for him at the moment. Look, he's come in sort of covering of Michael Penix, and he threw an interception against the Saints. The Saints defense, to be fair, isn't that bad. It has got better the longer the season has gone on. The New York Jets played against the Falcons last week. No interception, which was great. However, coming into that week, the New York Jets had one turnover on the entirety of the season. They did get a fumble from someone. It might have actually been Cousins, but they didn't get a pick. Seattle are a different kettle of fish. Seattle are a team that pick guys off for fun, be it cornerbacks, linebackers, safety. We've even had big guy interceptions. The line is 0.5. And be careful how you bet this, because there are certain bookmakers that word things differently. I know firms like Paddy Power have priced it as Kirk Cousins to throw an interception, yes or no. That's just black and white simple. Whereas guys like Bet365, I think Sky Bet do it the same. They have the over-under of 0.5. Same bet, just worded very differently, but it can lead to a few different prices. But at 20 to 23, I think Kirk Cousins is an absolute shoo-in to throw an interception this week. The Seattle defense is fantastic. It's getting healthier all the while. I would actually be shocked if Kirk Cousins doesn't throw a pick.
Yeah, this is the one I like the most out of your plays. Well, there's one other that's coming up as well that's similar to one of mine that I liked very much so too. But yeah, this is like my play last week with Geno Smith. We're just basically picking on veteran QBs who are very errant. They weren't necessarily the most accurate anyway, but they seem to have regressed this year. I like it. Seahawks are going to pick him off at some point. And even if somehow he doesn't throw an interception until the end of the fourth quarter, let's say they're maybe a score or two down, they're going to be looking to move down the field quickly. He's going to be taking risks, and you could get your pick there. So there are lots of opportunities for this interception for Kirk.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever had that dream where you're trying to run and you just can't run?
Not necessarily. I've had a dream where I've been running, absolutely full-blown sprinting. Not one where I haven't been able to run.
But like your legs just don't move properly. No,
you're hammering. You're hammering this home. No.
Help me out in the comments, guys. Help me out if you've had that dream. Please help. But that's what it's like watching Kirk Cousins play football. He can't move, and the Seattle Seahawks D line is very, very good. They are going to be on him as quick as they possibly can be. So, Kirk, throw the ball to a blue jersey.
Yep, I love it. And talking about love, let's move on to the next place. That is the smoothest link there will ever be on Turf and Touchdowns from me, anyway. Right.
Do you know the good like rule regards to a good link?
Go on. Never mention it's a good link.
you have to mention how good the link was. It's like, that was good, wasn't
it? Absolutely. To be fair, it was quite good. Right, I need to go back to it. Talking about love, yes, 9:25 games. Right, I love this game, which is the Packers v the Bears. Obviously, my team versus Chicago. Chicago and the Packers right now, we're fighting for that number one spot in the NFC North. Detroit 1 game back. Whoever wins this game will go and be that number one seed right now in the division, and also has a chance of being the number one seed overall in the NFC. The Bears are currently number one, so they would stay there. Not quite sure if Green Bay could actually leapfrog everyone, but we have a chance too. So this is a huge game in the division. I love the matchup. I love watching the Packers v the Bears. We have owned them for a huge period of time, and it's going to be played in conditions that will very much suit Green Bay. So this is a game I'm really looking forward to, not only from a fan perspective, but from a neutral perspective. And I'm going to play 2 selections in it, and I love both of them. And the first one is Jordan Love. And I want to take Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns for Green Bay. That is available at 10 to 13. Slightly weird odds, but 10 to 13 right now. So the reason for this, firstly, Chicago's defense has been okay, but we saw in that game probably 6-7 weeks ago against the Bengals that finished 47-42 or something similar to that, that they can be porous on the backside. Johnson is a very good corner, but the rest of that secondary, I don't really think they're great. So I think Jordan Love's going to have a great chance of making some big plays down the field. And we have great big play receivers like Christian Watson. Dontavian Wicks last week proved that he can actually catch the ball, which is a start. But he has electric speed and he's a great route runner. So he can go down the field and make big plays. Maybe Matthew Golden will come back this week. If he doesn't matter. Same with Jaden Reed, who's actually been activated off IR. He could come back this week. We have lots of guys that can go down the field. And then we've got Romeo Doubs, who will take those shorter routes and catches. So Jordan Love's going to have loads of options against a defense that's not great on the back end. And last week, Jordan Love looked amazing, in my opinion, against the Detroit Lions. 4 touchdowns on Thanksgiving. We dominated that game. Love was brilliant. And I know the Lions defense isn't great. We'll potentially see that on Thursday. If you've watched this after Thursday Night Football, then you can comment on that. But I do think that Jordan Love has been excelling since that game where he played against Carolina Panthers and threw that terrible interception. He has been arguably one of the top 5 QBs in the league, behind the likes of Drake May and Matt Stafford. So I like Jordan Love over 1.5 passing TDs. And I'm going to go straight in for a little bit more love because I'm feeling really loving right now, Luke. And it's going to be Colston Loveland on the Chicago Bears side of things. And I hate betting against my team. I don't think I've done it once this year on this Tough Touchdowns podcast, and I've definitely not done it in terms of soccer or football when it comes to Liverpool, despite the fact we are terrible. However, I'm going to do it here because the line is just ridiculous on Colston Loveland. It's set to 32.5 receiving yards. Give me the over. He is the guy that they rely upon in third down situations. We saw that last week in that wind game involving Chicago. You couldn't throw the ball, yet Loveland was the guy that every time Caleb Williams wanted to throw the ball, he was the one they looked for. He made some great catches. He's an athletic tight end. I think he'll cover here. Roma Dunze and DJ Moore will be down the field, but covered by our good corners. They'll make plays, but Loveland's the main guy. So I'll take Colston Loveland over 32.5 receiving yards in what is a lovely game.
It is. It is. You guys have placed someone from your defense on IR, and I've forgotten who it is. Someone
when was that today?
Yesterday, I think.
I missed that. But was it Dontavian Wyatt?
Right.
Dante Wyatt.
Yes. Yeah, him. Yeah. So that's quite a big part of your defense. I'm hoping that factors in because can I come on holiday to you?
Yeah, come on.
Let's go. We'll go to Loveland together. Together. Because I think Colston Loveland, not a joint play. Close. No, close. I'm going to take the over 3.5 receptions. I don't care how far he goes. For Tom's bet, sure. But for my bet, who cares? Just catch 4 balls. That's fine. The Green Bay Packers, last week, you could have been, wow, they're so good against tight ends. But Detroit don't have tight ends anymore. They're all done. Sam Laporta's gone. Brock Wright. You got Ross Dwelly, I think. It is.
Does he play for them now?
Yeah, exactly that. However, The weeks prior to that, against the Minnesota Vikings, TJ Hawkinson, he's still a thing. He got 4 catches. Against the Giants, Theo Johnson, he did his party trick of getting 3 catches, which is mighty annoying. Dallas Goedert, the week prior to that, caught 4 balls against the Packers. It is still a position that you can exploit a touch. And Colston Loveland, he's getting more and more trust in this offense. A large part of it is because the other guys have really not stepped up. Rome Odunze, I don't think Caleb Williams is helping him out a huge amount, but at the same time, it's the Justin Jefferson theory. Odunze has to be better. DJ Moore's not been fantastic all season. Luther Burden, he's working his way into the offense. You have to start leaning on the guys that are making plays. And one of those guys is Colston Loveland. I think he's going to have a decent week this week. Regards to targets, look, he's not being targeted like crazy, but there was a spike last week. He had 6 targets. If we can carry that into this game against Green Bay, he can catch 4 of them. We're going to cash that bet. I like the over. With Colston Loveland, 3.5 receptions. That, though, Tom, is at 6-5.
Yeah, nice price there. A quick question for you. Out of rookie tight ends right now, would you take Loveland or would you take Tyler Warren? Who do you think's better?
I'd still take Tyler Warren.
Yeah, he's more consistent, but I think he's been more utilized so far this season. Both of them are top level tight ends, I think, and they could become those elite tight ends that we kind of are sought after over fantasy football.
Yeah, I think Tyler Warren is. Look, this isn't saying Colston Loveland isn't, but I think Tyler Warren is just more athletic. He's a guy that, I mean, he could literally be running back at points in the game, but Colston Loveland is very good himself. And remember, this is a guy that Chicago picked over Tyler Warren. So they wanted this guy. They went out and got him. That is our little holiday wrapped up. We've been to Loveland. Let's go. Let's add. No. I've got this. Let's class things up, Tom. Let's bring about a little bit of grace and decorum.
Oh, nice. No, I love that. I thought you were going to say something like Rome, and it just wouldn't have worked. Right, yes, bit of decorum. Blake Corum, who's a running back for the LA Rams. I like him this week. The Rams are playing the Cardinals again at 9:25. This is my final bet of the week. Luke has 1 remaining in the primetime game, which we'll come to in a second. Now, if I said coming into this year, let's say after 3 or 4 weeks of the NFL being around this season, if I said, I'm going to play Blake Corum in week 14, I think everyone would have gone, what are you talking about? Because the guy was getting no carries. It looked like he was the clear backup running back to Kyren Williams. And it just was going to be a situation where Blake Corum wasn't going to become that player that the Rams thought. I actually dropped him on one of my fantasy leagues, despite paying a second-round pick for him last year. However, that is not the case since. So the last 6 weeks, Blake Corum, in my opinion, is basically RB1B, if that makes sense. He is the secondary guy in a tandem running back situation with Williams. That is half backed up by numbers. Blake Corum has 60 carries over the last 6 games, averaging 10 carries a game. Williams has 89 carries over those 6 games. So still a little bit more, but there were games at maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago where he was having 23, whereas Corum was having 10. And that's really the difference. Last week, on the first drive, Williams was in, but then Corum came in and ran the ball. So it was very much like, who is RB1 here? And if you go back 2 weeks, Blake Corum was the only guy in the second and fourth quarter to carry the ball for the Rams. So I really feel like his stock is rising, whereas Kyren Williams' stock is falling. And for that reason, I have to play Corum this week because his line is way, way below Kyren Williams' line. It's 34.5. Give me the over. If he gets anywhere near 10 carries, all he's got to do is average 3.5 yards per carry. I mean, that's very doable in this Rams offense, especially against the Cards, who are terrible.
Yeah, that's fair. That is very fair. I traded away Kyren Williams a few weeks ago in the Listener League, which I'm delighted about. However, in a different league, I have got on the same team Kyren Williams and Blake Corum.
That is the worst situation because not only have you got both guys, but then you don't know who to play. And it actually just comes down to you going, I'm going to play neither.
Well, I think you can't drop Kyren Williams. Like, you have to just play him. And they've said they want to get him less carries as we go towards the playoffs, which is just a nightmare. But we'll see how.
One last thing on him. Sorry, just to interrupt. He's also got an ankle injury, Kyren Williams. I didn't mention that a second ago. But even though they have been splitting carries with that ankle injury now, I anticipate Blake Corum's going to get a few more than he has been.
Yeah, that was one of the ones last week where he went out, left the game. Blake Corum came in had a lot of work, looked good. Then Kyron came back in and stole a touchdown off Blake Corum. So no one's happy. Everyone gets a little slice of pie. No one's fully filled up. Right. Let's keep things in the family as we go into the late game. Let's keep things. No, we're not talking about Brother Collins. We're talking about Brother Collins. We're talking about our good friend Nico, who, look, this is a guy that I haven't really touched at all this season. At the start of the season, I did a little bit, but then we moved on to Jaden Higgins. And Jaden Higgins, he's still the attractive young buck, if you will, in the Houston Texans locker room. However, Nico Collins is still very good. Don't know if you guys have realized, but CJ Stroud loves him some Nico Collins. I think Jaden Higgins will still get his, and his line is still like 34.5. I think you can attack Jaden Higgins and go over with that. But Nico Collins' line, it's as if they've forgotten that he's a top-tier elite receiver. 67.5. Look back at last week against Indianapolis, which I get is an easier matchup, don't get me wrong. But he had 10 targets, 5 catches for 98 yards. He's a downfield threat for the Houston Texans. He's one of the best receivers in the league. His problem has been staying healthy, but he is healthy at the moment. He missed, I think, 1 game earlier on in the year. But CJ Stroud loves him. A large part of Jaden Higgins breaking out was Davis Mills. Davis Mills was peppering him with a few more targets than maybe he should have. CJ Stroud still gave targets to Jaden Higgins. But, I mean, look, 2 weeks ago against Buffalo, 3 targets, 3 catches for Nico Collins. Stroud comes back in, immediately 10 targets. I think Nico Collins is going to have a big week. The Chiefs, their defense is fine. It's not the defense that it once was, though. And for that reason, I think Houston could beat Kansas City this week, Tom.
Come on! Yeah, anything that doesn't involve a KC win is good in my books.
Do you know what the Chiefs' record is right now?
I would like you to tell everyone. I'd like you to tell everyone really loud and passionately as well.
6-6.
Come on.
It's one of the ones where if Detroit, and obviously the game's happened by the point you're watching this, if Detroit lose, their chances to make the playoffs are 12%. I think it's fairly similar regards to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine a postseason without those two?
Do you remember a few years back when Tom Brady retired? Oh, wow, he didn't. He moved on to Tampa. And the New England Patriots went from this team that every year was producing, 12 to 15 wins. And they suddenly started going 500 over the season. That was like one of the most joyous occasions for the majority of NFL fans. It feels like it's repeating itself with KC right now. Look, I actually apologize, Gary Slater. This isn't anything to do with you. It's just to do with when a team has so much dominance in a league that should be exceptionally fair, it becomes frustrating that they're always there. And this year, they're not. Great stuff.
Yeah, and I prefer that you guys are losing while playing more entertaining football. That's great. Don't go back to the boring stuff. But I think the Texans might beat the Chiefs this week. But that's not going to be a pick. Nico Collins is the pick. Tom, we have got 10 selections between us on the podcast this week. If you've enjoyed the podcast up until this point, leave a comment, your favourite picks of the week, subscribe, join the membership tier, do everything that you possibly can below. It helps us out massively, as Tom will tell us his 5 Week 14 picks.
Yes, we're going to start off with Quinshon Judkins, anytime touchdown at 10 to 11 for the Cleveland Browns. That's selection number 1. My other 6 p.m. pick is Emeka Egbuka, over 60.5 receiving yards. That's at 10 to 11 for the Tampa Bay Bucks. We'll go into the 9 p.m. games, and we're going to start with a lot of love. And Jordan Love, over 1.5 passing touchdowns at 10 to 13. That is my play of the day this Sunday. And then we're going to continue with the love theme with Colston Loveland in the same game, Packers v Bears, over 32.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11. And finally, go to the Rams and the Cardinals. Take Blake Corum over 34.5 rushing yards, again at 10 to 11. 5 selections, hopefully 4+ winners.
I'm going to go in with 5 picks as well. Hopefully 5 winners. Chase Brown, over 51.5 rushing yards. That's at 10 to 11. I think he can do some damage on the ground against Buffalo for the Bengals. I think Bijan Robinson can do some damage through the air against Seattle. Over 34.5 receiving yards. Seattle, not great against receiving backs, and Bijan can make them pay on that. However, Kirk Cousins won't be helping him out because Kirk Cousins is going to throw an interception this week, at least one anyway, and that is priced at 20 to 23. Kirk Cousins over 0.5 interceptions, and that is my play of the day to get me back on the play of the day wagon after 3 weeks of just right. Let's go on holiday. Colston Loveland over 3.5 receptions. That's a 6-5. I'm surprised that's so big. I think Loveland goes over that line against the Packers. And then brother Collins is back out. Nico Collins over 67.5 receiving yards at 10 to 11. I'll tell you what, Tom, if Nico Collins goes over his line, brother Collins, your brother's demoted.
He's been leapfrogged by Nico. Fair enough. I mean, my actual brother hasn't played in the NFL, so yeah, Nico, you're in.
Pathetic. What are you doing?
Do we leave on that point?
Yeah, sure. We're gonna let's end the podcast like this. Thank you for watching, guys. Real good stuff. End the podcast if Brother Collins sucks.